There, that's better. Move you down here. There we go. All right. I'm just getting things kind of straightened out a little bit here. Good morning. Welcome. I hope to give you an enjoyable class today. These are the cards we're going to be making. I wanted to cover a couple of changes that are happening. Um, in May, we'll be getting a new catalog, and they're changing the way they're doing the catalog. They're going to do, instead of an annual catalog and 2 mini catalogs, they're going to 3 mini catalogs, which means you don't have to worry about cross-referencing with the annual catalog. You just can look at the one catalog and you should have access to the information in it. Plus, you can go online to access additional information, especially for the online essentials. There's a few other changes that are coming up, but I had a chance to look at the new catalog online because I'm a demonstrator. I get to peek early, and I got to see the new in colors coming, and I'm excited about them. I think they're yummy. There's a crisp cantaloupe, which is, think of cantaloupe color. It's pretty much like that. A golden glow, which is kind of a darkish yellow to kind of mimic gold. There's hydrangea hue. Now, I got a sneak peek at hydrangea hue with some paper that I ordered online, online exclusive, and it's a luscious color. I thought it was very pretty, pale, light blue. Now, I liked boho blue, but hydrangea hue, in my opinion, outshines it. Peaceful pine is a green. At first, I thought it would be similar to garden green, but no, it's got more of a bluer tone. And then barely blush is a very, very, very pale pink, as the name suggests. And they have some paper coming out that really highlights these beautiful colors. Um, it's called the Bloom Boutique, and it has accents of gold foiling in it. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's just so pretty. Now, for the cards we're doing today, just as a refresher, this one is like open it yourself, opens itself up, gatefold. Okay. And then we have this one, which I think is kind of fun. Now, I love this particular set I used as for the example, but when you open it up, it's like a little book in there. It's kind of fun what you can do with a few cuts and folding. And then this is a technique called twisted ribbon. I've seen it other places, but in this case, it was just, when I tried it, I got frustrated. And in this case, I found a technique to go with it to make it much easier to do. So now I'm willing to share it. And then this one is our Easter card, using the Easter basket, which is a new set that's out. I'm using some retired paper for the background, but I just thought that would be fun. And then these eggs, I've given you a selection of them, but if you have like little egg dyes, you can make your own out of scraps. Let's use up those scraps. These two items here, I couldn't include in the kit because I can't stamp for you. But I had suggested in my pre-prep that if you have little Easter stamps that you can work with, you can create some of your own. That's what we're doing today. And I don't want to take too much time. I'm really trying to keep the time for the class down so that we get it done as quickly as possible. Now, for this card, this the sentiment die cut, I used it's called Thoughtful Expression dies. I like this set because I like the layered dies, so that it makes it possible for you to do layers of all sorts. That's what I used. And then for the sentiment, I used a retired set, Peaceful Moments for the happy birthday. And then for the dies, I used the dies that came with the painted lavender set. A lot of times, having the sets with the standalone dies is really helpful when you want to embellish cards in the future. So I like having things like that to work with. There it is. Found it. I didn't pick it up. Anyway, that's what I used the dies for this. And this one here. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We have our kit. Now, I like cards that have mechanisms. It's fun, but sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. And so the cards I'm doing first are the ones I think might be a little more challenging while we're still fresh. Now, in your kit, you will have the card base. And this is, I'm stuck on hydrangea hues. All right, I have the color here. Highland Heather. There we go. Highland Heather. I use Highland Heather. I'm using the Perennial Lavender suite of papers. It's just such pretty paper. I've gone ahead and I've folded the card base on the score line. And then we have this piece that will go on the front of Designer Series paper. And then we have more parts and pieces. You'll have two of these, which is got scored on the one side. And these will become our gates for the inside of the card. I'm just kind of folding on the score line. And those will be sitting in here. These two, I've already got one folded, but these two are going to become the mechanism that opens the doors. And I've got one here that I've started just to help explain how the fold goes. Now this piece will, the white piece fits in for the sentiment. Hopefully you've had a chance to put your sentiment on there and decorate it. And then this piece here, I plan to use on the front of the card. But if you'll notice, I took the Designer Series paper and I added texture to it. I just felt like it would add a bit of extra interest to it. And then we have, you should have, there it is, two pieces of strips and two pieces for the gate. And then you'll have various extra stuff in the kit we'll get to a little bit later. Now we're going to start with, I'm going to move these aside here. We're going to start with folding it, the card base. I'm going to move these out aside too. Fold the card base. And then I always stop and determine if there's a little flap there. I want the longer to be in front. And then we're going to take these inside panels and we're going to, I folded them on the score line, and then the short folded side is going to go towards the edge of the paper. And what we're going to do is we are going to put glue on this side of it and then adhere it to the card base on the inside. Okay. Now I'm using liquid glue. You can use whatever adhesive you prefer. I'm folding it flat and then I'm going to line it up with the bottom corner And the side edge, I want it lined up nice. So that's part of the reason I'm using the liquid glue, to give me a little wiggle room. Okay, let's go get that set and we'll work on this one now. Add the glue. Now I try not to get too much glue because you don't want glue seeping out. That could be messy, which is another reason some people will use tear tape or tape runner. Okay, I'm doing the same as I did with the other. I'm lining this up right next to the edge and at the bottom. Okay, they should meet in the middle. Okay, now we're going to take the cardstock strips. That's these over here. And this is the part we need to focus on right now. What we're doing is we're going to take the top, we're going to fold it down so that the top side is parallel to the side of it, if you can see that. And then the second fold, I find it easier to take the long strip and fold it down so that it's folded right next to the triangle that you folded before, like this. Okay. Now we're going to do that. And then what's going to happen is we're going to come back here. We're going to open up oh gosh, this is the tricky part. This is why I need to do what I'm doing. Let's see if I get it right this way. There we go. Okay. What I'm doing, I'm going to take the folded strip and I'm going to be gluing it right next to that score line there. This flap, which I've unfolded, but the one fold remains. And okay, it needs to come down. Let's see what's happening here. There we go. Needs to line. I might have to trim that a little bit. Let's see. Okay. What needs to be, and we're doing this without adding the glue yet, is I'm lining it up along this edge and I'm lining it up along the score line here. Okay. I might need to trim that a little bit. And then we're going to put glue right on this one triangular piece here. So that's going to adhere to the top of the card. And that's what makes the mechanism work. Okay, but I just wanted to see where I was going. And then I'm going to add the glue. There. I'm lining it up again. I'm lining it up again. Along the edge there. Along the edge there. Okay. And then I'm going to add just a bit of glue. I'm going to add a little bit of glue right here. Now, I am using liquid glue. I tried using tape runner. I tried using glue dots, and I wasn't happy with the results. Now I'm going to fold this down, and I'm going to let it hold for a few minutes because I want it to adhere well, because that is an important part in getting this to work. This has to have a good adhesion. I can use some weight while I'm waiting for that. And while I do that, I can start to work on the next fold. I'm folding, here's the top. I'm folding it down so it meets the side. Because you have two pieces that you need. Okay. And then I'm going to take this other piece. I'm going to fold it down so it folds right next to the first triangular piece. And I'm making sure. All right. Let's try. See, here we go. See how it's working? It's pulling it open. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Let me see. Oh, see, you have to check it every time. Okay, when you put this on, you want to make sure that the flap itself is above the long strip because it's going to reach out. Trying to get this where you can see. I'm lining it up right next to the score line. I'm lining it up here. Okay. All right. I'm ready to apply the glue. And the trick of it is to make sure that you don't get glue elsewhere, which I just did. Down a little bit along this score line, and then we're just going to put glue right here on this little triangular piece, which was folded initially. And basically what that does is it gives you a guide where to put the glue and also gives it a hinge-like quality so the mechanism can work. And then I'm folding this down. And like we did before, we're going to wait a little bit to let that settle. That was an extra piece. That was the trickiest part. Okay, while we're waiting on that, I can add a sentiment. Let's see. Now, this is the new stamp positioner. And what I did, let me get my kit here. What I did was I have lined like, you could call it a stencil, I guess. I die cut out the shape of the die I'm going to be using. And I have already pre-positioned my stamp on the stamp positioner. Now what I'm doing, I had two. I knew I had extras. Okay, I'm positioning the die cut in the opening. I have my two magnets. I have this lined up, against the little beads at the top. I know they're kind of hard to see. Yeah, you can see them. And that gives you an edge to work against. And then I have this, which when I've already pre-positioned the stamp. But when you're ready to stamp, you'll ink it up and then you'll just push straight down. And that's what we're going to do now is we're going to ink it up. Oh, one of the new things happening in the catalog, they're changing our stamp pads. Some of you have trouble opening the ones that we've had, and I agree, sometimes they can be rather difficult. But the new ones are done magnetically, so they will attach to themselves with magnets, and so it's easier to open them and it's easier to keep them together. And there you have your sentiment ready to go. Now the other, let me get this cleaned up real quick. I like to clean my stamps as I go because it's very easy for little accidents to happen. And so if they're cleaned up, it lessens the chance for an accident. Okay, and then for this one, the sentiment I wanted to use, all right, I'm going to use this. And what I did was I embellished, let me get my thing out here. I embellished the inside. I did a stamping of some butterflies, and I did one of the little pieces. Within your kits, I think I ended up giving you 2 of these because 2 cut anyway. And what I'm doing is I'm lining it up. I'm using the grid paper as a guide. I'm lining it up. I'm, in this case, against the 6 and against the little beads at the top here. I'm going to use the magnet to hold it in position while I get the stamp out. There we go. All right, so I've been a little nervous using the rubber stamps with this, just plain. I mean, we can try to line it up approximately and then bring the magnets to kind of hold it in position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top plate and I'm going to push down and grab it. Now, technically, from the view of the stamp, I have it kind of centered, but I'm going to take it, I'm going to turn it over, and here's where the grid on this really helps me, because I can look at that and see, does that print look straight? And it does look pretty good to me from here. So I'm going to go ahead and ink it. And what happens if for some reason your first inking doesn't take completely, everything's held into place. The magnets hold the paper and the cling of the stamp stays to the thing. And if I wanted that darker, I could go ahead and re-ink it and make it darker. It'll be in the same position. Another advantage of this is it's a little bigger than the previous Stamparatus we had, and you can work with larger sheets of paper. A lot of times I would run into problems where the paper I was using, the part I wanted wouldn't fit in, and I have to maybe put the stamp on upside down or something like that and turn it to where the open side will allow the larger piece to get out. Now I'm going to close my ink. I use Shaded Spruce in this case because it goes with the Perennial Lavender set. And then putting my stamp away. And I can put the other one away while I'm at it because they both came from the same set. Okay. Now the perennial lavender, oh, here. It has the little butterflies. Now, with the butterflies, I don't really feel like I have to be exact. There they are. I don't feel like I have to be exact on them. If I want them. I could do this, okay, there. Okay, pick it up. I did that wrong. Wrong side. Ah, try it again. Okay. All right. Look, that moved a little bit, but I had it positioned at the 6, so I know where it goes. And then I'm going to add, I didn't really like it as dark as I had it the first time, so I'm going to use Highland Heather this time. Highland Heather ink. Just ink it up. Turn it over. Place it and press down. And there you go. You have your inked up butterflies. And we'll decorate it some more a little bit later, but that gives us the inside sentiment. I'm going to clean that again. I find that if you clean as you go, it helps you not lose your little stamps. And these little stamps are really easy to lose, especially when they're clear. All right, let's put this away. And we'll put this away. I'm going to check in case there's any ink over it, but looks good. Okay. Now, we'll get to the other part of that a little bit later. This should be adhered enough. Okay, let's see how our doors are opening. There we go. Got doors opening here. Okay, now we're going to take and we're going to move, put this in here. Now, I have to keep saying this, but I always try to stay about 1/4 of an inch or so away from the edge in case the glue wants to seep. It gives me a little bit of wiggle room, and it also helps me in the placement, and it gives me a margin so that we don't end up with glue where we don't want it. All right, now we're ready to put these pieces on here. I am tempted to use tape runner in this case. Also, this does have a direction. Let's see. So you want to make sure it's going up the direction the right way. And you want to kind of balance it in here. Okay, there's one. Okay. I'm trying to keep this where you can see it. All right. Okay. And then we're going to do the covers for the doors. Just as a curiosity. Yeah, that looks like it, the way it goes. I'm going to use a liquid glue on that because I'm probably going to have to move it around a little. Okay. Helps to have there a little bit of a border. Okay, do the other side. Again, I am paying attention to the direction of my paper. Let's see. Yep, we have it. Okay. We have it. Inside's decorated. Now, all we have to do is get the front decorated. So, we're taking the paper. I'm using the liquid glue again. Now, one thing I do like about the dark paper is it really shows the glue when I put it on. Sometimes when I'm putting it on light colored, I have to really look. Is the glue there? Did it make it? Again, this is directional paper, so you want to make sure you have the right way up. Okay. And I'm balancing it out so it's even. All right, and then we're going to get little extra pieces out here. Okay, now this, you have two of these. One is slightly smaller. This is the one I'm going to use on the inside. I'm just going to add it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dab of glue. Well, now suddenly you're not coming out, and you were coming out so nice before. What's going on? Come on. There it goes. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay. There, just a dab of glue. Okay. Now, I did notice when I was putting the dabs of glue on that some of these have little openings in the center. If you want, you can pop those out. I avoided it when I put the glue on. And then I'm using the stem kind of to help me put the little piece in place. And then I'm just coming in here and snipping off the excess. There we go. There we have a little decoration on the inside. Now for the outside, I've got this piece in place. We have this piece and this piece, and we have our happy birthday. Okay, I'm going to add, I kept this level. Let's see. What I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of assembling it and seeing where I like it. I ended up keeping this flat instead of popping it up. I just felt like it would be a little more difficult adding the embellishments. So I'm just going to add that again flat. Now, remembering that this is embossed, so you have unevenness to the embossing, so you might want to add some extra glue. Okay. I'm just balancing this out, seeing how I want it. Okay. And again, if you want to pop out the little centers of some of the flowers that are there, there's a few. Okay. This is approximately where I want this to be, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my favorite trick. When you're dealing with detailed dies, and that is to use the sponge. And I've said this before, I do this often with details dies, and I prefer to use tacky glue because tacky glue will dry clear, but it won't stay sticky like the Tombow glue. This Tombow glue, you can basically make your own glue dots with it. It will dry. It'll dry clear, but it'll be still sticky. And if I'm doing the sponging with the glue using my silicone mat, I don't want, and you'll see in a minute what I mean, I don't want to have random bits of glue that remain sticky on the mat. Because what happens, I'll be putting this down first. Again, I've said before, you can feel the die cut and the rough side is the back side. Now with the sponge, I'm going to take it and I'm going to just dip it in the glue and I'm going to put the die cut on the silicone mat. So when I add the glue, of course, some's going to go beyond the die cut. And I'm just protecting my surface with it, but it leaves, and I don't know how well you can see that, it leaves that residue of glue on there. And you don't want that to remain sticky because if I'm working and I set my work on the mat, it can create a problem. There. But it works so good to do the sponging when you're working with detailed dies. It just big difference. So I'm finding a clear space where I haven't got glue, and I'm gathering some more glue, and I'm going to go down this and add the glue. And then I can add this on top. And I'm going to snip off the extra. And in case you guys don't remember, I'm fond of glittery things, so when I have glitter paper, I like to use it. All right, I'm finding another clear spot. Oh, wait, let's see a few pieces that need to be poked out on this. Just a couple. Okay. Right. Okay. And then you have these two embellishments here. I'm going to set this aside. You have these two embellishments here that you can add where you would like. You know, I'm just it doesn't have to be exact. You know, you can move things around. If you place it and then you don't like where it is, you can, you know, move it around a bit. And then I have this one little butterfly. I just thought it would echo the butterflies inside. Okay, and there you have your first card. I just get the biggest kick out of that. I love how it opens itself up. Anyway, that's your first card. Okay, and now let's clear the decks for the next one. Okay, here we go with this one. This one has its own set of challenges, but once we get that past that, just like with the mechanism for the door, it goes fast. Let me just move this stuff around real quick. Grab the next set. For this one, in addition to the Inspired Imperfection set, which I used for the papers for this, I'm using the sentiments from the Branching Out stamp set. I just, this is a set I bought. I wasn't sure about, but as I got using it, I just loved it. And I've discovered I like some of the things that it says in there. Sent with lots of love, wishing you a day filled with many happy moments, thinking of you brings joy to my heart, those kind of things. So I'm really glad I got the set when I did. I like to turn to what I have because I feel like I bought it. I need to make use of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move things around some more. Get my instructions here. Oh, I also wanted to show you an alternative I did, one of the earlier ones. Just as the same card, I just used different paper. Oop, I got it down. I got it up too high. There we go. Same card, different paper. Okay. And moving this. I'm going to move this. And this. Okay. And these. If I clear it away, then I have more space to work with, which I'm going to need for this because I have to bring in my paper trimmer. Now, okay, this is my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, which I appreciate because it's so much better than the trimmer I had before. Okay, so in your kit, you should have the card base, of course, the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and fold the card base. Okay. Now, this piece, oh, I should explain. I should explain. Okay. When I cut out the paper, I still don't have it right. Here it is. Okay. When I cut out the paper, I cut a whole strip. Let's see. Yeah. I cut it 5.5 inches. No, 5.25 inches by 12. I cut the whole strip. And then for the inside of the card, I cut this part down to 8.25. And I haven't trimmed this yet. I didn't trim it in your kits either. But this one, when we get ready to use it for the front, we're going to trim it down to 5 by 3 3/4. Just a heads up. That's where the paper came from. Now, because I wanted the blue for the inside, this is the blue side I'm going to be using for the inside. So just to help you remember. We're going to start with this, and we're going to do some scoring and cutting. And we're going to start, I'm going to move this out of the way because I need that. All right. And I've got to move these out of the way. Okay, we have these papers, and we have panels, and sentiment strip, and embellishments. And I think you were just an extra piece there. Okay. So, starting with, and I'm going to be very specific on this because that's important. With the 8.25 at the top, I'm going to score this piece at 4, I think it's 4 1/8. 4 1/8, yes. So there's a 4-inch mark. I'm going 1/8 beyond that. I'm going to score it. Now, as always, be careful. Remember, the score blade is the lighter gray. The cutting blade is the dark blade. Also, you're scoring on designer series paper, which isn't as strong as cardstock, so you need to be a little gentler with it. You still want the score to be there, but you want to be gentler with it, okay? All right, so that's the first score. And now I'm moving it to the 5.25 at the top. Let's see. And I'm going to cut between the 1-inch mark and the 7 1/4 inch mark, which is basically what these little markers are for, to help me see where I am. So what that means is I'm lining this up at the 1-inch mark here. Actually, in this case, I'm going to use the 1-inch mark on this side because my markers are over here. Okay, so I'm using this side to measure the 1-inch mark. And then I'm going to go up to, and here's where I have to stand up so I can see better. Okay, I'm going to go up to where the 1 inch is there. I'm going to enter there. I'm going to bring it down to the 7 1/4 inch mark there. And I'm just going back up to where I started to make sure my cut was good. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, standing up again so I can see. Okay, at the 1 inch mark and the 7 1/4 inch there. Okay. Now we're doing some more scoring, I believe. With the 8 1/4 side up at the top, I'm going to line it up at 1 inch. Okay. And then I'm going to score. Oop, wait a minute. Not get ahead of myself, let's see. I'm lining it at the 1 inch. I'm going to score at the 1 inch and the 1 1/2 inch between the long cuts. So here's something else I did to help me. I wanted to mark the long cuts so I could see them. So I used handy dandy Post-it note to kind of guide me. If your eyes are better than mine, you probably don't have to do this, but little helps like this help along the way. Although I did discover, while I can sometimes feel with the cutting when an area I hit isn't cut, with the scoring, I can't always feel my little extra paper there. Okay, so now I'm going to stand up again. I'm going to bring this. I've got this at the 1 inch mark. If you can see that right there, that's the 1 inch mark. And then I'm going to close it and I'm going to go up to where that cut is and I'm going to go down to where the other cut is. Okay, I'm just scoring there between those two. That's at the 1 inch mark. And then we're going to do the same thing a 1/2 inch deeper, 1 1/2 inch. So I'm moving this over to the 1 1/2 inch mark. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going up to where the cut is and down to where the cut is. And I'm doing it a couple times so I don't have to do it so heavy, but just enough to get it done. Then we're going to do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. And I use my little guides to help me over here. Okay, so I flipped it over. The 1 inch mark. Close the door using the scoring blade up to that where the cut is and down to where the cut is. I do it several times just so I have a good score. And then I'm going to move it over to the 1.5 inches and do the same thing. Okay. All right, now carefully, still the 8 1/4 inch is up at the top. Gotta make sure I got this right. I did that. Okay, score at the 2 inch on the top and bottom. So here we're moving it over to the 2-inch mark. And then, okay, this is an inch up. So I want to get to this, and I'm going to score here. And I'm going to bring it down. And at the bottom here, I'm going to score at the 2-inch mark just to where the cut is. Okay? I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on the opposite side. 2-inch mark. And just to the cut. And up at the top. Just to the cut. Okay. Now, the hard work's done, the fun starts. You are going to, okay, I thought I had it on here somewhere. This first, on the cut section, the first is going to be a valley and then a mountain. Okay. And of course, the middle section is a valley. And then we do a mountain again on this end. And then another valley. Okay, there we go. Once we get the right things working for us, we can do it a little easier and press it down. Now, the 2-inch scores at the cut portion, that's going to be a mountain. On this side, it's going to be a mountain. No, that's not working. Got it reversed. Okay. Got it reversed. Okay, so this is going to be valley, valley, mountain. And this should be valley, valley, mountain. Okay. And this creates the inside of the card. Now I'm reinforcing the score lines. Okay. Opposite side. Okay. Now this is that inside portion. Keep putting it up high. I'm trying to keep it in camera, and I've moved the camera a little so I don't have to go quite as high. What's going to happen now, and this is the part I had trouble describing. All right, let's see. Is this will be inserted into the inside of the card. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up so it's, maybe about an 1/8 inch from the edge. And what I'm doing is I'm going to put, and here's where the tape runner is really helpful. I'm going to put the tape runner only on this very topmost piece. Now, let's get this going. Okay, that's the very topmost piece. This is the one piece right here. I'm only going to put it there. I'm going to make sure, and I got to tilt this towards me, make sure I've got it lined up where I want it to be. And I'll stick to it. This is sticky. All right. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to fold this over on top of it. Press down. Flip it over. and do the same thing on this side. Wait a minute, that's crooked. Got crooked on me, you little turkey bird. You slipped when I wasn't looking. That's the problem with the tape runner, is you have to check it quickly or else you won't be able to undo it. Come on. There. There. Okay. Shouldn't have the problem with it slipping the second time around because it's adhered on one side. Okay, same thing. Only to this one top portion here. Come on. All right. And there you have the insides. Isn't that fun? Okay. Now we're going to work on the front. Okay. For the front section, we have the layer in Misty Moonlight, and we have the white, but we have to cut the white down to size. So we need a paper trimmer again. And it needs to be cut to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Okay, well, this is 5 inches here. Okay, 3 3/4. 3 3/4. Oh, look at that. It's already there. So you just had to cut the one side. Okay. This part's easy. It's just assembly. Add the glue. Line it up, leaving a border about 1/8 inch. Okay. And then we're going to put it on the front. Again, line it up so it's got even borders. Okay, we're going to let that hold for a second here. And while that's holding, we're going to get our little goodies out. Let's see. We have this piece. Getting my Misty Moonlight out, and then I want to get the stamp out. I set this down on my glass grid just to let it relax so I know it's going to be straight. And I'm going to take, see, with the new stamp pads, you're not going to have to struggle with opening it. It just magnetic pulls open. Okay. And then I'm going to ink it up. And then I'm going to now, I know I'm going to be putting the vase on the one side. So I'm going to have it go over to this side as much as I can. Okay. And then I'm going to be lining it up on this. And in this case, it's going to meet end to end, but it's going to have the borders on the top. Okay, this is where the dark versus the white helps me line things up so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. And that be ready for this. And then here's the other thing we need to do. We have a vase and we have a bowl. Some additional embellishments. And we have 2 flowers. Now, you could add color to these flowers if you wish. I simply took advantage of the fact that I could die cut them from the paper, so I could even give them to you. And then, let's see, I'm going to need the little cutter. Let me get that. Okay. Okay, Stampin' Up! Has a set which coordinates with the Take a Pick tool. And it comes with these various additional tools. In this case, I'm going after the little sharp blade. This one will actually cut like a dotted line if you wanted to have something to separate off for people. This is a really, really sharp pokey tool. And this one's kind of a pokey tool and a hook kind of thing. So I haven't played with too many of these, but I needed one where I could poke holes, make small cuts. Let's see, I don't want to do that, do I? Want to go this way, yeah. And I'm just adding this to my Take a Pick tool. And then one more thing. I have a little piece of a former mouse pad, which is padded. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut. Let's see if I can get this really close. I'm going to cut right along this edge here, a little hole. Just a slit that's big enough so you can slip the flower in. Let's get it big enough. A little bit bigger. Of course, it has nothing to do with the fact you have to be able to see, right? Okay, there's a spot. That gives me some space. Okay. That lets me slip that in there. So I have the flower. Let's see this. The flower in the bowl. I'm going to do the same thing for the vase. Okay. I think that's big enough to get in there. There we go. And that flower in the vase. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, move this aside. I'm going to put a dimensional on the back of the flower, because what's going to happen is I'm going to put this on here, and want this to be raised up, and with the, I'm going to use some tape. You can use tear tape or whatever you have. I'm going to use a little tape to hold the flower in place. And I'm going to put dimensional on the back of the flower. I'm going to put, let's see, how much room do we have? A couple on the bottom of the vase. Because this will be thicker, it'll be raised up. And I'll just put glue behind it. Okay. Okay, so first I want to make sure I got the placement where I want it to be. And it goes there. Now I want that to go there. Okay, so I'm going to add glue. Okay, I'm going to add some glue right along in here. Okay, and I'm going to remove the dimensionals from the head of the flower and from the bottom of the vase. And then I can place it. Okay, now we have some more embellishments, but let's work on the inside first. Okay, these additional pieces. Now this one is easy. We're simply going to put it kind of centered with a very narrow border. And this one we're going to stamp a sentiment on and then put it. So I'm just going to do this real quick. Very narrow border. Okay. Let that set for a bit. This one we're going to work on the sentiment. I didn't tape that down yet. Boy, when I was a kid, I really went through tape. Ever have that happen with you or your kids or the grandkids? Give them a couple rolls of tape at Christmas time and they're in heaven. Okay. Okay, we're going to wait on that for a second. So I get the other sentiment out that I want. Okay, that just there. Get it lined up. See, the grid paper helps me make sure it's in the right position. Okay. I want this balance fairly in there. Okay, so I want that. Good, I can put that there. All right. Keep that close. I move the bag this close so I know it holds the paper really well. And then I take the top and I insert it in the little pegs here, push it down, pick up a sentiment, and now I can ink it. Before I do that, I'm just going to take another look to see how it's lined up, and it looks great. Okay. Okay. Lining it up, pushing it down, and there you are. See, I want this back on here. Okay, put this back in the box. See, if I clean up as I go, then I don't get crowded on my desk, right? Close the stamp pad. Avoid the accidents. And then we can put these guys away right now. Okay, that's done. And then this I can take off. There we go. Okay. Peekaboo. That's the right one. All right. Now, we have this one here. We are going to add the flower to this, but we're just going to put it on there flat because it's the inside. We don't want too much thickness on the inside. So I'm just using the glue. And like I have done in the past, if it's in a trickier positioning place, I'll use my tweezers to kind of guide me so I know my bowl is the way I want it. And my flower can do its thing. Okay, now we're going to add glue to the back. You know I can't see you, but it's kind of like having company when I'm designing cards or making cards. So it's like I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Even if you're not here yet, later on you'll be there. And it's like having company as I'm making the cards. And this one's ready to go in as soon as I put it on the gold backing. And when I finish making the cards, it's like I'm sharing. It's like I'm sharing the pleasure of having another completed card. And I just love the thought that when I do this, that through this class, others will eventually get cards because of things that were learned here. Okay, now I'm putting this other panel on here. This is where you leave the room for them to sign their name. This is a great card for somebody who doesn't have many words. They just want to give a card. And just kind of line it up. Okay, and then we're going to close it. And that's going to help it adhere. Now, while it's doing its thing, we have these last little embellishments that you can add. And you can see what I did here, but you see the lines on the paper are not all going to be the same. So you have a choice on how you want to do it. Oh, come on. There we go. I happen to like the intersections, but it's up to you how you want to do it. And there you have your second card. Okay. Moving on. Okay, I just want to keep copy of the cards here. All right, now let's move on to the next one. This is the next one we're working on. In your kit, I wanted to show you the other samples I had. This is the card we're going to be doing, but I wanted to show you the other samples. When I discovered the secret, the technique, this one is narrower than this one. And this one is almost the full width of the card. I like them all, but I decided that I like the middle better. I like the middle size better. But this isn't bad if this is what you want to work with. It's not bad at all. In fact, thanks to my experimenting, I have another Easter card ready to go. How about that? But anyway, I just felt, it could be the paper, I just felt like having the full sheet almost all be the twisted ribbon, it just was a little distracting. This one I felt gave enough focus. I liked it. So that's the one you guys got. Now, the secret. This is a secret I learned. In your kit, you will have some strips of some actually gorgeous paper that have a gorgeous back to them. Okay. So I just used one design of designer series paper, and then I used the front and back of them to provide what we're after. This is the secret. I don't know if I can get close enough, but you can see your copy. This is designer series paper that I'm using for the background, but I have scored it at a 1/2 inch all the way down. And those score lines are what made the difference in being able to do this. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you today, because that's the secret. That's the trick. I was so frustrated the first time I tried to make these, and it just, I just put it aside. All right. So you also have your card base and such, but we're going to focus on this for right now. Now, what I did was I started with the dark side, or the less fancy side, and I'm putting it on the back. And I almost think, I don't know if I can do it or not. Let's see. I'm trying to make it so you can see. No, I think it's not showing up very well. Well, you can see it somewhat. Okay, this is the top section. And we're going to get it here. Okay, we're going to take, you can see that bottom mark there. We're going to take this first strip and we're going to line it up in that top section, but we're going to bring it down to end in the third section down. Okay, that's why I made those 2 marks. We're skipping over a section when we do this. And that's what we'll do each time. In this case, it probably would be handy if you have a silicone mat. I put some tape runner on it, about the width I think I was going to need. And I'm bringing it so it covers that one section and meets down at this other section. Let's see, we need a little more stickum. And then we're going to take and we're going to trim it off right next to the edge. Okay. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again. Going to add. Okay. Okay, I'm starting with this one here. That's the third section. I'm lining this up. And I'm bringing it down, skipping a section, bringing it down to the other section here. Okay. And then I'm going to cut again. And I have a piece that I didn't quite get enough adhesive on, so I'm going to use one of my tricks. You know those scrap pieces when you're cutting things to size? Sometimes you don't have a use for them. Sometimes they come in handy, like times like this. Just lets me put the adhesive there that needs to be there. Okay. We'll stick them. Okay. Okay, I'm skipping this one. I'm going to this one. Next one down. I'm lining it up and lining it up. They should remain parallel. Now this one, I'm not sure if you're big enough. Let's see. Oh, just. All right. Okay. We need another piece. This one. There we go. And brings it down to here. All right. Okay. Now we will have a few little tiny scraps. What this is another tricky part where you're going to want to line this up with this last section, but you're only going to go about halfway, and then you'll have some to cut off. And this is a good example. I'm glad that's not sticky because I've been using this, and if it stayed sticky, it would have been sticky for me. You want this to be parallel. It's going to go about halfway. Okay. The next one. This might work to my benefit. That might. I found it was a little easier to go that way. Okay. There we go. That's one side. Now we're going to be flipping it over and doing the other side. Same procedure. We're going to go bring this here and bring it down there. Okay, I have to overlap that. I have to bring this down here. Overlap that one. And bring it down to that one. Let's make sure we're the right spot there. I wonder if this was something that was invented by somebody who was running out of their paper. Well, that just fits. Okay. Because it took not quite 4 strips of the same paper. Come on. Oop. Get you up there. There we go. You know, I've seen people name their Stampin' Up! Facebook page Inky Fingers. And right now I'm thinking Sticky Fingers with all this glue. Okay, come on. Okay, there to there. Okay, and then we're down to the ends again. And we kind of cross in the middle, so I'm just going to put that there and kind of keep it parallel to what was there, so it gives me an idea of how much glue to apply. Okay. And we're doing a similar thing here. Need to add a little more glue. Come on. This is where I get the sticky fingers from. Trying to keep this guy going. Okay. Now, if you do this right, it just will line up. Where you need it. And there you are. Yay! Okay, that's the work. That's most of the work for the whole card. We have the inside panel. We're just going to focus on this for the moment. Here's an example I've tried to express to you before about using the layers to supply, especially like if you have specialty paper, to supply the paper for the layers for the sentiment. So anyway, let's apply the glue. And then these are designed so that they line up top and bottom, but they are, you have a border on each side. And I'm getting a little glue on mine, so I'll have to go back over it with a glue eraser. Meanwhile, I'm trying to keep my fingers clean or enough to keep going. Okay, I'm going to go and apply the gold layer now. Okay. Now we have the card base. Yep. And this is the inside of the card. I'm going to go ahead and apply the glue to this and get this on. Okay. I liked it balanced. You don't have to do it that way, but I kind of liked it balanced in the middle. I think I'm going to have to add a little glue there. A little glue. Apparently I didn't have quite enough glue. Okay. Now we're going to work on the sentiment. In this case, I was planning on doing some heat embossing. I don't do that very often, but on the chance that someone who doesn't know about it is watching, I feel like I need to share it every now and then. The heat embossing, we're going to use a stamp, and it is I'm using a photopolymer stamp, which is clear, but we're using Versamark as well, so that it's a sticky ink that allows for the embossing powder to stick. Now we're going to go back to, I gotta get it out. I think I should have left it out. Yeah, there it is. I have all the supplies surrounding me, but I sometimes even they get buried, and I have to unbury things. Okay, we have again the stencil, if you will, and we're going to center this within the stencil. We're going to pick it up. Then we're going to take the die cut and put it in here. Now, what I didn't do earlier, which I'm going to do now because we are doing heat embossing, is I'm taking my embossing buddy and I'm just kind of rubbing over the surface with it. That prevents the powder, the heat powder, the embossing powder from sticking in the wrong spot. Okay. And then I'm going to take this, which I've already lined up, and I'm going to put the Versamark on it. I'm going to turn it over, line it in the pegs, and press it down. And I'm going to give it a press from the top and pick it off. Now, I'm going to set, let me grab my tweezers again, if I can find them. Okay. I'm going to set this aside for right now. Okay. I have my powder. And I have my tweezers. Well, this will give me a better idea. Okay, you're looking good. I'm going to get a good grip on that. Just as a precaution. You just want to make sure that any excess powder isn't where it shouldn't be. Okay, I will fill that back up a little later. I'm going to grab my gun. Now, using the tweezers, because this is a small piece of cardstock, I don't want to burn my fingers, but we need to have this hot enough to melt the powder. I'm just kind of allowing the gun to heat up a bit before I came over here. So go a little faster. Hopefully you can see. Oh, there you can see the change. Can you see that change? Okay, I want to make sure I get every last bit of it. You see that? Gorgeous. I decided I wanted to use gold because I was going to use a gold liner. Okay. And while I was putting that away, this should have cooled. And then we can put this on. The layer. Again, the liquid glue comes to my rescue by letting me balance it out. Okay, I'm going to put the weight on for a moment, and then we have a piece of ribbon, and then I have ribbon scissors, but I want to you kind of put a glue dot there. In the middle where it's going to cross. I use my take a pick to pick one of the glue dots up. Okay, I'm going to want to shorten that too. Okay, put that there. Okay, and then I want to shorten this up. I'm trying to put this where you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trimming the edges. And then I'm going to bring this down. And I'm going to be putting this on there. And it looks like I did pop it up on this one, so maybe that's what I'll do. I will pop it up. But I'm going to pop it up a little bit differently. I'm going to use the dimensionals to help me hold the ribbon in place too, as well as the sentiment. Okay, and then I can put a couple at the end there. I did, in looking at the new catalog, I did see that the price of dimensionals was going to go up like 75 cents. So if you're low on dimensionals, you might want to buy them before the new catalog comes out in May. Get the 75-cent cheaper price. Little things like that happen. Come on. There. Yeah. Okay, now they just the inside. The inside, we just did a strip and a happy birthday. And so we're going to take the inside piece and add a strip. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to use yet again. Okay, let's get the cinnamon right there. There's the cinnamon. Okay. And I'm going to go with a 3. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm picking it up. I'm turning it over. I'm looking at the actual word. And it looks pretty good. So, in this case, I used Gorgeous Grape for the ink. Line it up with the pegs, and then press down. And there we have it. Oops. Well, I'm going to have to get a little fancy there because some of the ink went extra, but I'll fix that. Probably with a ink eraser or maybe an embellishment. I haven't had that happen with this yet, so that's kind of a surprise. Okay, well, that's the general idea. I'm not going to stick it in right now because I want to clean up that ink, but that'll go inside here, and then you'll have your completed card. All right, let's put this away. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Last card. The Easter Bunny card. This is a set I used for the Easter card. This is the basket I die cut. It also has a die for egg shape, which I used, but I also cheated and used some egg-shaped dies I had from a previous set way back when, Wreath Builder dies. I've come back to this several times because they have things in there I like to use. Now, in your kit, of course, you have your instructions, but you also have the card base. And we have this 2 pieces of white cardstock. One's going to be for the inside, and the other is going to be for the front of the card. And what we're going to do is we will be using this piece to finish off the inside, and this will be the bottom of the card here. So these will be put together like that. I think I'll go ahead and do that so we won't have random pieces floating around. Now, when I do this, if for some reason there's some unevenness to it, we can trim things down so that it's all nice and even when we're finished. But for right now, I'm just trying to line it up as exact as possible. Okay. I see a slight bit of unevenness, but we can trim that. Now, here's the trick, and I didn't include that here. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and glue this on while we're waiting. Okay. Now, inside your packet, we have eggs. We have a bow. We have grass. And we have sticky fingers. Okay. We have a little ruffle for the basket and lots of eggs and three strips of glimmer paper. Now what I'm going to do is I called and kind of let you guys know of this hint, and then for some reason I didn't include the one I done. All right. Naturally. Okay, let me go get one. I used a paper clip to aid in getting the strips in. And what I did was I took the paper clip and I unraveled it a bit. Okay? And then I took it and I inserted it every other slat. Okay. Now, as it turns out, you have 3 strips. I already knew it's best to do the top and the bottom first. And the top and the bottom would have the same slats transversed. So it would be the same. The top would be the same as the bottom. I'm just moving it up a little. And then I'm putting the bottom in here once I pick it up. All right. I guarantee you this saves you quite a bit of time. I mean, you can do it without, but I just found this was much easier. Now I take it out. You have the top and the bottoms already in position. The middle one has to be opposite. So I'm going from behind and having to weave it more. Now it's a little easier with the firmness of the paper clip than it would have been with the strip. Okay, and then I'm just kind of moving this down a little bit to make it a little easier to get the strip in. And then I'm just inserting the strip right along the path that I created with the paper clip. Okay, and then I can pull the paper clip out. And then you're just going to arrange the strips to where they're pleasing to you. And then you can cut off the excess. And then what we're going to do later is we are going to put some dimensionals on top of these strips because they're going to raise the basket up a little bit anyway and hold the strips in place. I'm going to add the little ruffle. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to add some grass at the bottom. There it is. That looks good. Okay. Let's take a look at this now. Let's even it up a little. Yeah, it's only that one side that seems to need a little attention. Okay. Okay, we're just going to add that onto there. I'm just looking at some supplies I think I have hidden in plain sight. I guess I didn't do it. Okay. There it is. All right. Ah, should have thought of it sooner. Okay. All right. So for the back of the basket, we're going to add some dimensionals and purposely add the dimensionals where they will hold the pieces in place. Okay, I don't want it too high there. Well, that's a good. All right. And then you're going to place the basket where it's pleasing to you. And I should bring that other picture up here so you have it as a guide. And then I've got this bow here, which we can add with a glue dot. Okay, now you can add the bow pretty much wherever you want. I just chose to do it there. But then we have all these eggs, and what you can do is I took designer series paper and I just kind of cut the eggs out of them, and you can choose which side you want actually, because some of the sides are easy with either or. And then let's see, so that one wants to disappear. Let's put a green one behind it. I'll show up a little more. Anyway, add as many eggs as you want. I gave you a selection of them. And then I put mine in place with glue dots. Now I just kind of decided I wanted to use glue dots. And then if you want, I mean, you could put, like, make this a chocolate bunny. You could put it inside. I didn't do that for you because I couldn't stamp for you. But in this case, I'm just going to put these little guys that I have prepared towards the front. And where did, oh yeah, here's the little chickadee. Okay, but I just added the eggs, played around with, what I've got. And then I used the glue dots to just kind of hold them in place. You can use glue if you wish, it's up to you. Or you can rearrange it if you wanted to have one of your items in the basket rather than standing beside it. I just did the ones beside. That's pretty much up to you. Again, we're going to do the inside, and I used a couple of eggs on the inside as well. So put this guy on here. Um, as you may have noticed, this went together pretty quickly. And even faster because we use that little tool. Okay, for here, add a dab of glue. Okay, and I'm going to use the positioning tool again to add the sentiment, which is going to come from the Happy Easter. Easter basket set. We can use Happy Easter or we can use Easter's on its way. I'm just going to use the Happy Easter. And the positioning tool. I tried to give you plenty of eggs. I didn't want anyone shortchanged on eggs. I think I'll go right here. That makes it nice and even. All right. And I'm doing it up above Happy Easter. Now, Stampin' Up! I noticed is coming out with a white gel pen in the new catalog. I am tempted to get it. I think it might be helpful in cases where maybe the ink got places where it shouldn't. We'll see. All right, I'm looking at it. I'm considering, and it looks nice and even, so we're good. Now I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to add the ink. In this case, I think I'm going to use the, Highland Heather. I will be getting the new magnetic pads with the new ink colors. I'm really pleased with the new ink colors, and I'm excited to do that. And we will see how they turn out. Great. Okay, super. Anyway, with a white gel pen, I'm hoping it'll work for like, oops, got ink where I don't want it situations. But if it doesn't, we'll still come up with other answers. I'm going to move this back. Oops, sorry. Hit the camera. Closing the ink pad. Okay, let's get this in here. Oh, my eggs are all moved around. I'll put them in later. But let's get this in here. Okay, empty basket. The kids must have already raided it, right? Here's one with a chocolate bunny. Happy Easter. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I tried to cover a few extra things, like showing you the use of the stamping positioner. Overall, I'm pleased with it. I think a positioner is an essential tool. And you know how I love my Stamparatus. And it just saves a lot of grief in the long run if you're having difficulties. So these are cards. I'll add my eggs permanently a little bit later. I do have to get those sent off because I do have grandkids. Okay, so we have the self-opening card, and we have the twisted ribbon card, and we have the surprise book inside card, and then we have our Easter card. If you have any questions or difficulties, you're free to contact me. I'm happy to help, and I hope that you enjoyed this experience and have a good day. And also, please, I really, really love seeing the results of what you've done. So if you have a chance, either send me a picture or post or something, even on my Facebook page. It would be fun to see and share it. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. I also appreciate the company, even if I don't see you there, because I feel like I'm sharing the joy of creating cards, and that's what I want to do. And I want you all to enjoy it as much as I do. So take care and have a happy Easter. And gosh, I'm hearing that the heat wave's about to end. I'm so thankful for that one too. So you take care, and let me know how it goes for you. Thanks. Let's see. I got to find the right button to push. Oh, there it is.